The Chargers have officially fired both Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco. Now, I did not expect this to happen during the season, and the fact that it did just shows that Dean Spanos is actually committed to hopefully finding a good general manager and a good head coach, because the Chargers in franchise history, they have never fired a head coach or general manager within the season. So hopefully that's a change of tune there for Dean Spanos, and now he is committed to winning, because in my opinion, that is the biggest thing that is holding this team back, the biggest thing in our way. I know a lot of people talk about John Spanos and his role in the front office and finding player personnel and finding people for the front office and hiring head coaches and all that stuff. Hopefully he has learned his lesson from the people that he has hired and how it has not worked out, because that is another thing that is in our way. It's both Spani, but hopefully they can see the error in their ways and they will learn from this, man. That is all that we can hope for. I pray that we can have success in the future as Chargers fans, because listen, man, I don't have anything against Brandon Staley. I got nothing against Tom Telesco. I hope that they have success in their future for sure. But it was clear and it was evident that they were not working out with the Chargers, and a change had to be made, man. I'm not celebrating them being fired. I'm celebrating the change for the organization, because this is a big turning point for our team. They just let up the most points that they have ever let up in team history to their division rival, their most hated team, the Raiders, and the Raiders scored the most points that they have ever scored. A change had to be made. We could not just be sitting here today on a Friday and just be going out and having drinks with our friends unless a change was made. As a Chargers fan, bro, now I can go out and I can celebrate, because our team had just made a good decision that none of us really, I mean, how many of you guys expected Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley to be fired today, or even at any point in the season before the season ended? I'm sure a lot of people did not expect this at all. Now, I want to take you guys to Twitter to show you how this news came out. Chargers have announced and not announced an interim head coach or interim general manager yet. So I would imagine that the interim general manager, honestly, is probably going to be John Spanos. That, I mean, for better or for worse, that's probably what's going to happen, because he's already got so much sway in this team already. But when it comes to interim head coach, it doesn't matter too much, right? So, you know, don't really care too much about this, but I would imagine Kellen Moore, because it seems like he's got the most under his belt. But Ryan Ficken would be my choice to be the interim head coach, just because of the way that special teams has played. And I think he deserves a shot just to be at the head of the team for a little while, because the special teams, you could argue throughout the entire season, they were the best throughout the season in terms of not being awful all of the time, or awful even just part of the time. Really, that last game was the only game we saw a bunch of special teams errors, and it was really only that fumble by Darius Davis. One benefit to the Chargers: they don't need to hide doing all the background work needed ahead of a general manager and head coach search, so that can begin in earnest. It also can serve as a signal to potential targets that they're going to be in pursuit and not to sign anything yet. So that is really interesting, because when he says this, not to sign anything yet, how many of you guys are thinking about Jim Harbaugh at Michigan wanting all of that money to go and leave Michigan and play or coach for an NFL team? Does he not sign anything yet because now he sees that the Chargers have an opening and he wants to coach Justin Herbert, have maybe a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, have Khalil Mack and Keenan Allen, and then some other guys? We're going to talk about this. This was the official tweet that Dean Spanos made. Listen, man, I applaud Dean Spanos for making this decision when he did, because this to me tells me that this is not the same old Dean Spanos that would have held up with Norv Turner and AJ Smith until the end of the season, or held up with any of, like, Mike McCoy, so many coaches that just were staying for too long. And this was the right decision, man. Brett Coleman says, I'm fascinated to see what the Chargers general manager does with Khalil Mack and Keenan's contracts, man. Mack is having a career year, but he's going to be 33. And Keenan Allen is also having an amazing year, but he's going to be 32. Those two cuts would save $46 million in cap space. It's a really tough decision. Now, when it comes to Khalil Mack and his contract, you have to mention Joey Bosa in his contract as well. Because if we go to Spot Rack, I'm just going to do this really quickly. You can see that both Khalil Mack And where is Joey Bosa right here? I have to find Joey Bosa because they're both getting... Oh, he's down on the injured list. Let me just go to contracts right here. There's Joey Bosa. So he's getting $27 million average salary. And Khalil Mack is going to get a bump in salary after this season. So you have an out on Joey Bosa's contract. You can trade Joey Bosa. Is that what you do? Is it you trade Joey Bosa and you keep Khalil Mack, who's aging? But he is obviously the better player at this point, I think. And also, we go back to this tweet right here. Keenan is having an amazing year, but he's going to be 32. I think Keenan Allen is a really good wide receiver, obviously, and the way that he succeeds in the NFL is the route running, and that can continue into his, he could be 35 and still be as good as he is right now, the way that he wins. Keenan Allen, in that $20 million contract, he's going to be getting more, but Mike Williams right here, $20 million as well, and he is going to be getting, I think it was like 30-something million next year. You have an out here as well. Mike Williams is injured and he is 29, man. It's not like Keenan Allen is so much older than Mike Williams. Mike Williams is only 2 years younger and he's had more health issues. He's not been as good as Keenan Allen. I think the guys that you want to get rid of are Mike Williams and Joey Bosa, to be honest with you, man. And I know that Brett Coleman, listen, I love Brett Coleman, but I think you keep Khalil Mack. And I think you keep Keenan Allen as well to try to get that veteran aspect on your team. These two amazing players. You need turnaround is the biggest thing. You need to have turnaround on this team. And it's just, let me go to this tweet and show you. Mack proved me wrong this year. I thought the decline was coming, and he's been sensational. He absolutely has. And we talk about the Raiders game that Khalil Mack had in week 4 for the Chargers. I mean, he had 6 sacks in that game. And they only won by 7 points. Like, if Khalil Mack is not playing as well in that game, do the Chargers even win? I don't know. Now, look at this. Stephen Haglund from the Guilty as Charged podcast. He says Keenan's not going anywhere. I totally agree with that. Sure hope he's not, but they have something to do with the contract to save space. Even if they just extend him to make a Charger for life, I would be all for that, but they have to lower the hit. You don't have to lower the hit if you trade Mike Williams, but Steven says they can extend him and work other areas. Start with Joey, Mike, Eric Kendrick, Sebastian Joseph Day. Those are 2 other guys along with Michael Davis that I think probably should not be on this team next year. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'd try and keep Mack even at his cap hit if possible. I totally agree with Stephen Haglund, man. This is why I listen to the Guilty as Charged podcast, and you should too, because Stephen Haglund is a freaking genius. That's why I follow this man. I think May said Linsley, Bosa, Mike, and one other guy gets them under the cap. That's another thing too, is Corey Linsley right here, 32-year-old center. I think he's probably going to retire. And Will Clapp just got injured. We're going to see the extent of that injury. But oh my gosh, the Chargers finally got rid of the 2 biggest issues on this team. And just being able to wake up today to the news that Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco are gone and away from the Chargers, it makes yesterday just a little bit worth it. Honestly, it makes it a little worth it. If we had to get beaten that bad by the Raiders for this to happen, hallelujah, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you didn't see my video yesterday, you can watch right here. I was totally nauseated by the Chargers' performance, but today, I'm a little bit happy.